Okay, welcome to the lesson on burns. We are on page 78 in your textbook. When we talk about burns, we're talking about anything that destroys the skin in such a way. So we're talking about sunburn, windburn, heat burns, which could be, either fire or hot oil or even hot glue gun or something that destroys the skin. We're also talking about acid burns, so anything that can damage the skin in that way. Basically, when we talk about a burn, we're talking about anything that damages any or all three layers of the skin. So let's start with first-degree burns. Almost everybody on the planet has had a first-degree burn at one point or another. First-degree burns typically only involve the epidermis, so just that dead layer. Now, this is a sunburn for the most part, or maybe some windburn or something like that. It causes redness, it can cause pain, can cause a little bit of swelling, but it doesn't really damage the skin permanently, right? You get a sunburn, you heal, everything looks exactly as it did before. So in this case, we're really just talking about the epidermal layer. So the dead layer, essentially. The second-degree burn is more involved. This involves the epidermis and the dermis. So we are damaging hair and some of the glands and blood vessels. So in this case, you are going to end up with a blister. It's going to hurt. There's going to be swelling, and it's going to take longer to heal. You may also have some scarring that occurs from a second-degree burn after it heals, depending on the extent of the second-degree burn. You know, like if you're playing with a glue gun or something and you're doing a project and you burn yourself, or if you're taking something hot out of the oven and you burn your thumb a little bit, you might blister and then it'll heal, but ultimately it'll be fine. But if you have a secondary burn over a larger body area, then it will probably scar. This can appear red at first, but it might appear white or tan, and that is charred skin, essentially. That will eventually fall off and be replaced by new skin, but in the interim, you have charred skin. So second-degree burns can be caused by heat or acid or trying to think of some other things that can cause. Oh, electrical, that was another one I forgot. Pardon me, electrical or chemical burns can cause second-degree burns. These are the most painful because you have burned down into the skin, but if you'll notice, you still have some nerve endings in here. See, there's one, there's one. There's some over here. These yellow lines are the nerve endings. So your nerve endings are picking up signals that are being relayed to the brain in the form of pain. So second-degree burns hurt a lot. They may need professional medical attention. Again, it just depends on the extent of the burn. And then third-degree burns. These are the most problematic, but actually the least painful because they involve all three layers of the skin and can then involve deeper layers as well, like the muscle tissue and even down to the bone. So third-degree burn is so named because it extends into the subcutaneous layer. Now, because you are burning all the way through the skin, you are burning down past the nerve endings here. So you basically just wipe them out. So your body's not sending the signal that that's painful, at least as far as the skin is concerned. You will have pain in other areas, don't get me wrong, but this won't necessarily be painful initially. Now you are charring the body. So this won't really look pink like this at all. It's going to look black or leathery, or maybe white. These kinds of burns, pardon me, do require medical attention because of the risk of fluid loss. So there's nothing holding your fluid in here. It's just all going to be leaking out from the damaged tissue. And the risk of fluid loss is severe because if you lose enough fluid, you are going to go into circulatory shock and could die. Circulatory shock is just when your, blood pressure tanks, because you don't have enough fluid circulating through the body to maintain your blood pressure. These require skin grafts, typically, your own graft, or if it's a larger body area, cadaver grafts. And until the area heals enough that you can actually graft on a new piece of skin, you are going to have areas all the way around here that need to be brushed off. This is extraordinarily painful. It's called debridement, and it's basically like taking a wire scrub brush and brushing off all the dead skin, kind of hard. That, I am told, because I don't have any firsthand experience with this, is the most painful part of enduring a third-degree burn, because every time they do it, they're ripping off all of that old skin. There are other ways to debride a wound, and in some cases, physicians will use maggots because they will eat the dead skin but leave the healthy skin intact, and it doesn't hurt as much. So when the skin has been, the dead skin has been removed, the dead skin is called eschar, E-S-C-H-A-R. I don't think I mentioned that yet. When that's all removed, then they can graft on new skin. But you can't graft on new skin until you get rid of all of the dead skin, because the graft won't take. And of course, dead skin can cause bacterial infections and all kinds of things. So a third-degree burn does take quite a bit of time to heal and quite a bit of medical intervention. Now, when somebody is burned, physicians use something called the rule of nines to determine how much of the body has actually been burned. And basically how this works is each body area is an multiple of 9. So the front of the arm is 4.5%, the back of the arm is 4.5%. The entire front of the torso is 18%, the entire back of the torso is 18%. Front of the head, 4.5%, back of the head, 4.5%, front of the leg 9, back of the leg 9. And anyway, you see how this works. So depending on how much of that is covered in burn will give you the percentage of the burn. So it's, again, multiples of 9. So if you've ever heard the news and they'll say, so-and-so was burned 63% of the body. Well, how did they even come up with that? That's how. It's the rule of 9s. Now that only works for adults. For kids, it is different because children are not proportioned the same way as an adult. If you've ever looked at a toddler, you can see this right away. Their head is 1/3 of their body size. In an adult human, that's not the right proportion. So for children and infants, they have different scales. It's not the rule of 9s. And it depends on how old the child is, which scale they'll use. But again, it's different for infants and children. Okay, so if somebody has suffered a burn and they have a scar, which they will if they have a large 2nd degree or 3rd degree burn, can you massage it? Yes, of course you can. However, I do want you to know that they will have altered sensation or no sensation in that body area where the scar is. Remember, if it was a 3rd degree burn, they burned all the nerve endings there. There are none. So they may not have any feeling at all in that area where you're working. So you would have to be aware of that and just be careful not to use too much pressure. If they do have sensation, it may be an altered sensation where they might only be able to feel pressure, but not light touch or something like that. It is totally fine to work on old scar tissue. Scar tissue, as you know, we talked about injury management or tissue injury, excuse me, just throws itself together, knits together like this and creates a fibrosis. And it's basically just to heal the area quickly so you don't lose fluids and things like that. So it's your body's way of closing in a wound as fast as it can. But of course it leaves an area that is tighter typically and that doesn't move as well as the original skin. So massage therapy can actually be very beneficial in creating a more mobile or more manageable scar, one that moves a little better with the rest of the tissue. So in that way, massage therapy would be beneficial for somebody who has sustained burns. Okay. A 36-year-old woman comes to the emergency department after being exposed to steam from a broken water heater. She describes extreme pain. The skin on her face is red with white patches, swollen and beginning to blister. What is the most likely diagnosis? Well, aside from the fact that we can't diagnose, this is really just trying to get you to pick out which kind of burn it is. So what do you think? 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, or a severe scalding injury? Which it is, but that's right. It is B. It's a 2nd degree burn. Swelling, pain, redness, and blisters. Yes. Okay. That is it for burns. The next video will be about skin cancer. So you only have a small bit about skin cancer in your book, so I'm going to add a little more info at that time. Okay. Have a good day.